I'm Dr. Cheryl, and welcome to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl, Wealth Transformation. Our show is raising the awareness and consciousness in the relationship with wealth and applying unconditional love. Always remember that your present situation is not your final destination. Our show this evening is about the wealth of a loving relationship and how to deal with financial challenges within the couple. Our special guests this evening are Cheryl and Paul Benson. Cheryl is a speech-language pathologist, relational communication disorder specialist, and author. Paul is a successful entrepreneur with a background in body-centered psychotherapy, NLP, business, and personal development. They met 12 years ago and got married in 2006, just in time for the 2008 economic turndown. Together, they've weathered the storm of some pretty scary challenges like losing two multi-million-dollar-a-year businesses, erased finances, and a pretty serious health issue. Ended up even losing their home. But all was not lost. They rebirthed themselves as entrepreneurs and discovered how to thrive in both love and money. They wrote the book, 5 Steps to Thrive, Reveal Any Crisis as Opportunity. The Bensons are international coaches, workshop leaders, and thought generators on a mission to support conscious relationships to demystify love in many life areas, including money. Carol's articles have been published in the Elephant Journal and elsewhere. Welcome, Cheryl and Paul. I've been so excited to have you on the show because my show is about wealth and the relationship with it and applying unconditional love. I thought this would be such a perfect example, you two, and having written this book about what you've been through and using tools. So please tell us, well, first maybe give us a little how you met and, kind of a wrap about, how you met and when you got married. And
do you want to go first?
Sure, I'll start. We met about almost 13 years ago. And actually it was a blind date. What's kind of funny is that before we met, I put out a message to the greater, whatever you want to call that, universe, God.
Divine intelligence.
I said, you know what? I don't know how to pick the right person for me. I always pick women based on my attraction, and I always get the wrong woman. So I said, you pick someone for me this time.
Wow.
So that was 6 months before we met. And funny, Carol did the same thing.
Oh, wow. So see, zoop.
so when we met, a friend of mine, I said to Solomon, so many women, just set me up. Let's do a double date with you and your girlfriend. So he got a hunch to reach out to Carol because he'd met her in Maui when she was doing some writing for a screenplay. And he kept asking her just to have dinner, and she didn't want to do it. She says, I'm done with guys, forget it. And then she finally, at the 4th time, she said, okay, I'll go out. So
you really needed a nudge. Right?
So that's how we met. It was a blind date, but we were so well matched, it was like friggin' scary. It's like
terrifying.
So do you want to add anything, Carol? Yeah. You want to add anything about that? Or?
Yes. It was interesting because about 6 months before Paul and I met, I did the same thing because I was out of a marriage and had started dating again. I have 2 sons and found that, oh, wow, I'm getting the same kind of results as when I was in my 20s. And I think I'm just really happy being by myself right now and living a full life. And I didn't really need anybody to complete me. Yeah. So when his friend kept calling me, I said, thank you, but no thank you. And finally he said, it's just dinner. Can't you just come and have dinner with us?
Not yet, anyway.
I said, all right, will you leave me alone then? And he says, yes, I promise. And we met. And it was really amazing because at the beginning of our relationship, it was just effortless. And it was as if we were having a conversation with ourselves. We were different, but there was this compatibility, but it was pretty scary, I have to
Were
say.
you scared too?
Probably more than her.
Because usually the man is more than the woman.
But it was like, I remember one time we were in Carmel and we were hiking, and this would happen a lot at first, where I just started taking off my sweater or whatever I was wearing, and she was doing it at the exact same moment.
Oh, wow.
And there were so many things like that.
The synchronicities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure now you finish each other's sentences.
Well, we know what each other's
They're
feeling
thinking.
all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I know how her day is. She knows how my day is.
Yeah.
You know, we're just in touch with each other.
Simpatico.
Yeah. So, yeah, so it was just scary to meet someone that had the same dreams I had. That was, for me, what was
Yeah.
scary.
And to be met. I mean, that's the thing that really impacted me, to feel that this person was completely showing up for me in all ways. And yeah, and that's really what's gotten through a lot of the things that we wrote about in our book.
Well, with that, since our show is about money and wealth, not always about money, but wealth is money, can you give the viewers some tips about your firsthand on how, when you're facing a series of financial crises and what you went through?
Well, maybe we should talk about what our life was like before everything kind
I
of.
think, yeah.
Oh, to lead up to that.
So,
Okay.
do you
So
want to start, or do you want me to start?
Sure, I can start. When we met, it was really, there was a lot of financial flow for us. We were at the stage in both of our lives and our professions where retirement was definitely a possibility, and we were even starting to look at rental properties. I mean, it was just
To buy.
easy, to buy, and it was just, there was flow. We were traveling, we were saving, everything was easy. And then we got married in 2006. 2008, many of us know what happened.
Yes, I do, firsthand.
And so for the first time in my life and in Paul's life, money became hard. It became hard. And we're both looking at it going, what is going on here? This is not how we thought it was going to be. And
So how did you feel during that time?
So, well, what ended up happening is that I had two multi-million-dollar-a-year businesses that just like the spigot of money just all of a sudden like dropped. And so I was cutting my overhead as much as I could, and I just kept them going. And I funded the businesses with my 401k and my savings, because I had 30 employees. I didn't want to just fire them all.
Yeah.
So we went through a radical downsizing. We ended up losing our home.
Yeah.
And so it was challenging. So you asked, how did we feel? Sometimes incredibly scared, but the thing is that we championed for each other. That was the basis of our relationship.
yeah.
So I don't get scared about Carol being great and being wise, because she is, and she doesn't fear that in me. So we actually support each other being great, individually and in our relationship. So that was the foundation
So how do
that
you
helped
do
us.
that? How do you nurture that?
Well, I know when we were going through some of the financial, it looked like on the outside loss. And it felt like that at many moments where we couldn't sleep at night. I'd wake up in the middle of the night with this anxiety
Like
attack.
panic,
Oh
yeah.
my God, we're going to be homeless. What are we going to do? My sons and
Right.
the cat and the dog, what are we going to do? Where are we going to be? And it was really scary. But I think what we did is because we champion each other.
And what do you mean by champion? I just, for the viewers and the audience, I just would like to get how you would explain that. How do you know?
We don't fix each other. That's not our job.
Amen.
We don't teach each other. That's not our job either as partners. But what we do is we facilitate. Sometimes I'm trying to think of a good example. I know that if I was in a panic, that we're going to be homeless. What are we going to do? Paul would say things to me such as, wait a minute, let's go into appreciation right now. What are you grateful for? And then I would just go, I'd feel my whole body just go,
Yeah.
we have a roof over our head, we have food to eat, we still have running water.
The basics,
Yes,
the necessities.
So we reflect for each other a little bit of the truth of where it is right now. Because oftentimes what I have learned about myself is when I go into fear and panic, I'm worried about the future.
Exactly, I understand. So when you say truth, you're dealing with what the present situation
That's
is
right.
right now.
That's
'Cause
exactly
when you
right.
stay in the now, of course,
That's right.
stress releases.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
But also, I want to add to that. We expect each other to be great, and what I mean by that, great is where you are in your power, you're in your love, you're in your gratitude, and so when one of us goes into what we call negative mind loops,
Yes, yes.
the other one will say, "Hey, how you doing?" And it's really a gentle way to invite ourself or the other person to step into their greatness and not shrink.
Right.
And when we went through really difficult things, like sometimes I'd have hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt I couldn't pay. So I was dealing with multiple creditors calling me. So I had a whole system of how to deal with that.
Right.
But what I would do is sometimes I'd feel so beat up by life.
Yeah.
I'd come home, Carol, I need some support here. So we taught each other how to support each other without mothering the other person, without making them wrong, but really creating a language that she would invite me to be my best, and I would do that with her.
Right.
So would you ask each other what you wanted in that process?
Absolutely.
It's like, Paul, how do you want to feel, to empower yourself? How can I facilitate that?
Well,
Yeah.
actually,
And
our book came from one day I said, we haven't had one fight over money
Yeah.
over 4 years of crap we've been going through. Like the foundations just kept crumbling. And I said, we are happy in hell. And Carol said,
You're
what'd you
right.
say?
You're right. What are we doing? Maybe there's people who could benefit from what we are learning and discovering here. And I said, okay, what do I love? I'm a writer. We have to figure this out.
Yes, and from what I'm hearing you say, it's like you were building your foundation as a pair, as a partnership, as a couple, as a whatever you want to call it. But so wow.
Yes. I like to think of it now as when our foundation crumbled, we were like, I don't know, we rose from the ashes and created something new.
So how do you keep each other happy?
Well, we don't keep each other happy. we're already happy.
Yeah, I mean,
See,
individually, you need to be happy anyway. You know?
So she doesn't try to make me happy because I already am happy, and vice versa. So, but that was the foundation of how we met. We were already. See, I think that's really important when you choose somebody to be in a relationship with them, but you're wanting them to fulfill a need for you, which is them making you happy in that way.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work it'll bring up all the places where you're not unhappy, and then you start to blame each other, or possibly.
Yeah.
So we have a pretty good place of resilience inside ourselves. I'm already happy, she's already happy. So we don't make each other happy, but we celebrate the beauty of each other.
Right, right. So if you can both share, what makes you happy? As you, Carol, what makes you happy? So you can bring that to the relationship.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I realized long ago that I couldn't find happiness outside of myself. It doesn't exist outside of myself. That no one is responsible for my happiness but me. I can certainly have people in my life that add to it, but I'm the one. And I actually like playing this game with myself.
Well, please share. This is
I play a game with myself.
Just
And
one?
I do. But I like to feel joy, and that's just part of my nature. So when things are challenging for me, I will actually look outside of myself. And it might be as simple as, look at this flower. Oh my goodness. So I take myself out of that story I'm telling myself about this, whatever the stress is. And I see if I can shift where I'm at emotionally. And by being grateful or finding joy or in the beauty of simple, it could be as simple as, I love the color of your boots. It doesn't matter what it is.
right, but it's taking your attention away from
That's
that
what I do.
negative thing that's going on.
And then I just feel, I'm so happy to be alive. And that's what I do. I challenge myself.
Yeah. And what about you? How do you? I'm sure you both have your own unique way.
So self-care is really important. So I did a vision quest about 10 years ago.
Did you go in the desert to do it?
Well, I actually did one in the desert, but this is another one I did with about 8 people out in Sequoia National Forest. Bear Valley, which is a place that
yeah,
most
I
people
know.
don't
Beautiful.
go there because you have
We
to
used to
get
have
special
a cabin
permission.
up there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So I went out there, and there's a part where we do a solo for 4 days. So I was doing that, and I realized I needed to do a vision quest every week. So ever since that point, I do a vision quest every week. So what I mean by that is that's not maybe a true vision quest, but it's where I go off into nature, don't take my cell phone for 4 to 8 hours, and I just relax. I contemplate. So that's important. That creates a place of balance.
Absolutely.
Second thing is that I have a practice so that every morning I do something, whether it's running or qigong or yoga, questions I ask myself. I do that every morning before I leave the house. That's my religion.
Yes.
And it's a way just to balance and really find my own appreciation. And so now it's like I do that. Like today, I was texting Carol. I was eating a beautiful sandwich up at in Sebastopol, and I just said the simple pleasures and texted her because it was such a beautiful pleasure having a beautiful sandwich on a foggy, rainy day. It was like exquisite.
So you probably do that intermittently all the time to support each other and give that happy uplift.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Definitely. Oh, well. Well, I'm going to read one of your questions here. With your finances being so impacted, was it hard to still see yourselves as thriving?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Yes, thank you, Carol.
There were moments when I doubted it because I would find my fear just kind of pulling me along to surviving. And when things change, you do have to survive. I mean, that's a given. But what I found is that if I was just struggling to survive, I was forgetting to appreciate life. And so when I could include thriving in that, it didn't matter if we recouped all of our finances. That's not what thriving is about. Thriving is about really appreciating your gifts and how you can support people and life. That's what it's about. So I know that there were moments when I doubted it until I just said that aha moment of, wait a minute.
And you're human.
I'm human, yes.
We're all human.
That's right.
And it's I know someone that I know said the fear storms,
Yes.
but they pass.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think the quality of the relationships that we have in our life, it was really beautiful because I know when we were going through some of the major struggles of losing businesses and losing our home, there was people we thought who were our friends who were really uncomfortable with it. And
well, you do find out who your friends really
Yes.
are when you go
Yeah.
through challenges. It's true.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
And I have to say, it hurt.
Yeah.
It hurt my feelings, I know, and I felt bad, and I felt humiliated and embarrassed, ashamed. I mean, I went there. But then people who were acquaintances, who were not really close, all of a sudden were like, I'm there for you. What do you need? And I'm like, really? Well, just knowing that you're there. That's
Well, you
all
were
we
raising
need.
the elevation of your consciousness, and so then that's what happens, you know, that you start attracting people with the same consciousness.
Let me add to that question too,
Yes.
about the difference between thriving. So to me, there's the question is, what is surviving, what is thriving? And I think a lot of us have felt like we need to have money in the bank to thrive. But I would say that's, you know, money in the bank is nice, but doesn't mean you're thriving. Because you could use that money as a buffer against life to protect yourself from life.
Absolutely.
And then how many people, I mean, if you look at the studies of people that have a lot of money, a lot of them are unhappy.
Yeah. They just keep wanting more money.
Yeah,
because
so it's not just the money. That's not really, for me, the essence of thriving. So surviving is where I think you are struggling to make ends meet, and you're in fear.
Yeah.
You're not relaxed. That's survival.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I think that you can move into thriving without having lots of money in the bank. But money is nice, but that,
From your attitude, in your mind, in your heart.
partly, I think that thriving is a place of one, having faith and trusting the unknown. Like when you have your own business, you don't always know when the jobs will come in, and there's like feast and famine. So one, you have to keep generating, you know, your lead generation where people find you, whatever your marketing is. So there's a faith that people will find me. Two, you want to create value in your offering, so people get value out of your service or whatever it is you do, whether you're a coach or a business owner. So I think that thriving is a place of really generosity with others and yourself. And if you can have that generosity, so we don't have the flow we used to have, but we have plenty of flow now, you know? And there's times where it's a little tight, and so we just monitor what we spend.
Yes.
And try to spend less than what we make.
Amen.
You know?
I mean,
and then appreciate what we have.
Yes.
Right.
And you know, another important piece on that is really, what can you do without? What can you, when you go through these traumas and you know, financial challenges, it's like, what can you really do without? I mean, did I really need to buy that? Did I really need to spend the money on that?
Exactly right.
You know, I mean, realistically,
Right.
and because, as you know, being in NLP, that, you know, the addictions come out. And yes, the oxytocin comes when people shop, and it's like, but is there a balance?
That's right.
You know?
Right.
So one thing I want to add, I think it's important for people that some people lost their homes in California, in the United States. I mean, I don't know the numbers, but it's in the millions.
Yeah.
One of the things that we did is we kept having a future we were going towards, something we believed in, we had faith that we were going to get there, and that's really important, I think. So if you become a victim to the situation, then that's not good.
Kind of sabotaging yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's something we talk a lot about in our book, is how to have your mind be a compass, that your mind can point you in the direction of being a victim and complaining and blaming. That's one way to go, but you're really not going to be happy. You're not going to be thriving. Or you can turn around the situation through different types of questions we talk about, through
Can you give us one of your questions?
what else is possible. So if you're in a tough situation, you could go, okay, I don't know how to pay this bill. What else is possible here? And don't try to come up with an answer yet. Just open to the question and see.
Yeah.
And you might go, oh, well, why don't you call the creditor and say, hey, I can just pay you $100 now and I'll pay you the rest in 6 years or whatever.
Well, I think you became a master at that from our last conversation.
Yeah. So that's one tip. But
No,
I think that having a future that you're going towards, so that's what we would do. We would remind each other, remember the future we're going towards. So then it becomes much easier to be in a sucky situation if you know that it's just temporary.
Yes, and that's so important, just knowing that it's temporary.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Because I know for myself, I mean, when talking to people that have challenges, not only money, but it's only temporary. And
That's
keep
right.
that in your mind, because
Yeah.
there's something opening up that's
That's
better.
right.
Yeah.
There's another question that I like to ask, and that is, what's so right about this that maybe I'm not understanding at this moment? Because what that does, you know, if it's something where it looks like it's a loss, or it looks like things are hard, or they're not going in the direction that I would have liked them to be, so I would have an expectation about, oh, well, this is going to show up. And whether it was a job or a contract or a client, it didn't matter. And it didn't. So, of course, I would be disappointed, but then I would just say, oh, it's the unexpected. That's what life is all about. So what is so right about this that maybe I'm not getting right now? And it could be that it wasn't lined up for me to work with that person.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I
Yes.
was a little confused
Yes.
when you say, what is right?
So
about
right.
this? So right.
So right
about
about it.
Yeah, I was just a little confused.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so what is perfect about this
Yeah, what is perfect
that I'm not
about
getting?
Right.
Because
That maybe I'm
Absolutely.
resisting.
Okay.
Yes.
Because
Yeah,
one,
Right.
can I add
Yeah.
something? Yeah.
Go ahead.
One thing I think is that if you view everything as medicine,
Yeah.
that you actually can grow. And so, in other words, I mean, I dealt with Lyme disease. I could barely walk 2 years ago. I'm really in good shape now. But I turned that around because I kept going towards what I wanted rather than being stuck being a victim of Lyme disease. So I just think that's such an important thing, is to keep going towards what you want.
I totally agree. And that's with
and
any
not get
kind of
stuck.
medical issue or
Yeah.
mental issue. It's
Yeah.
true. That positive affirmations is a key.
Yes, yes. And it's about money too, because when you're going, you know, we thought, oh, we're finally seeing the end of the tunnel here, and then he got Lyme disease.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was one more thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So you had many, several layers of stress factors.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, if you can take everything as medicine or as a teaching for you,
Yeah.
then you actually become stronger from it.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't, but I think that's a part of the healing journey, is that, I mean, if you can see that there's a gift in this, even though you don't know what it is right now, and it doesn't feel like, sometimes the best gifts are, you would never wish on your friends,
Exactly.
but you grow from those. So that's what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Yeah, I always love using the metaphor of the oyster, because the oysters,
Oh, right, don't we?
and the sand seeps in there and makes the rub of the sand makes that beautiful pearl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like using that metaphor because it's true. I mean, there's
right.
friction. That's growth. That's, and at times it's very uncomfortable.
Right.
It's like, okay, why? What is this about? I mean, I always ask, what is this about? Why am I going through this? Because I know I'll get through it, and there's something better on the other side of
Yeah.
it.
So we would help each other, because when we would go, why is this happening to me? That's not a question that will really help you see the gift in it, or really you'll kind of still stay stuck. And that's a bit of a victim question.
Right.
So we would coach each other. Paul, that's not the best question. Oh, I know. Okay, all right. So that's really where we talked about questions to open up possibilities.
Right, and being open-hearted and open-minded about that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Because you never know what comes out of it,
Right. Right.
So
And it's kind of tricky at times, because when you're in it, when you're stuck in it and you're really thick in it, you feel that emotional response. And so you feel the hormones are kicking in
Right.
because it's triggering your stress hormones.
Right.
And you can't think clearly when you're that way. That's why it's so important to just
Absolutely.
stop yourself and say, okay, what am I doing to myself right now? So you need that awareness, and then
I go meditate
and
That's
then
what I do.
Yes.
to
And
stop.
the tools.
To stop.
So one thing is, I think I want to be clear that it's not just positive thinking, because I think, like when I'd have really hard days, Carol, you would come to me and I would say, I want to just be with this for a little bit. I don't want to get out of this place yet.
Yeah.
So I would just stay with that depression, that whatever, that frustration, that anger, stay with it for a little bit. And just kind of almost like lean into it.
Yeah.
So that's different than positive thinking, which positive thinking can be a way of avoiding uncomfortable situations. So I want to be clear that that's not what I'm advocating.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, we're really talking about be real, but at the same time, don't be a victim of the situation. What can you do to move forward?
Right.
Right, but it's important to
Yeah.
acknowledge that you get depressed
Yeah.
or anxious or
Yes.
angry. You know, I mean, that's human nature,
Yeah.
you know,
It is.
but not holding on to it. And
Right.
just
Yeah.
like for myself, I just like, okay, I'm depressed. It doesn't happen too often, but I
Right.
you know, but I allow myself to feel that.
Yes,
and then
exactly.
and then it just kind of fades away.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
when you both felt embarrassed and humiliated about your drastically changed circumstances, what approach did you use that might help others?
Let me tell our story of our house. Is that a good story to tell?
Okay.
All right. So I had a bankruptcy, and we just lost our house, and we had about a month to find a new house. At this point in Marin, there was about 2% vacancy. So we would go and look at a house, and we'd have our credit reports, and we kept getting turned down right and left. So this is a tough situation. This was a little over 3 years ago. So Carol came up with a great idea. Do you remember what you did?
I do. I said, okay, what else is possible here? Because this is not okay. It's the first time we were renting. Between us, we had 5 homes before then.
Right.
So here we are renting, and everyone's turning us down, and the clock is ticking. So I said, all right, we're just going to be honest. We're going to be vulnerable. We're going to be completely honest and truthful, and we had a different strategy. So what we did is I wrote a letter of our story, basically, a 1-page letter, and I walked in to the next house with Paul, and one of my sons was with us, and we said to the lending agent, this is our story, we told him. Is it a deal breaker? Tell us up front. And he was the only one who said, no, not necessarily so. The other realtors, the other lending agents we had worked with would say, oh, no, but their body language was telling us something else. So they weren't really being honest, but we knew because we could feel it.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, well, we're not going to get that place.
Right.
And so he said that there was another family looking at the house. And he said, fill out the application and get it to me as soon as possible. And I said, it's in our car. So he walked outside, and I give him this pile.
Our credit reports, everything.
Everything with a letter on top.
Right.
And he says, okay, I'll review it. So he said he would let us know in a day or two. So the next day we didn't hear anything. And I'm thinking, oh no, what are we going to do? Where are we going to be? We're going to be on the street. Oh my goodness. And we get a phone call that he read the letter that I had written to the owner of the house.
Oh, wow.
And she said to him, what are they like? And he said, well, I met one of their sons with them, and they are really good people. They're salt of the earth. I think that's how he described us. And she said, give them the house.
Yay.
So
Yay.
vulnerability doesn't
Yes.
have to be something that you become a victim to or you're embarrassed. It's strength.
And you're walking through your fear
Yeah.
Absolutely.
when you do that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
So that's one way. We've had many stories like
Yeah.
that, but yeah.
Well, do you want
That's
to share
one
another
story.
one?
Well, one thing, I think a lot of people have debt that they might be following them.
Yes.
So I have a great way
Oh,
that I would deal
please.
with creditors. Because at one point I had probably a couple $100,000 of debt I couldn't pay. But I felt like I wanted to be integrity or have as much integrity as I could. So at that point I was getting probably 3 calls a day from creditors wanting their money. So if I just kind of answered the phone and didn't know who it was, I would get caught into that world of, I don't know how to pay you. I said,
Yeah,
that's not a powerful
yeah.
place. I'm not
No.
going to do that. So I would let the phone ring, go to voicemail, and then each day in the morning, I'd pick a time and I'd pick 1 or 2 creditors I would call. And also I knew my cash flow for the next 2 weeks. So I would go, okay, I have $2,000 I can spend on debt, on top of my bills or short-term bills. And so I would call up one of them and say, hey, I want to call you up. And I'd say, here's what I can do. I can pay you $100 in a week, and that's all I can do. Is that going to work for you or not? 99% of the time, they loved it. And they said, thank you for calling me back. And I kept my agreement. Or if I couldn't, I would call them back and say, I can't do this now. I'll change it. So that's an example where you are in a situation that's not what you would love.
Yeah.
It's not not what you pick for yourself. No one thought we'd go through that, right?
Yeah.
But you create a scenario that takes care of their needs with what you can do.
Yeah.
But you first have to own that this is all I can do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's probably a lot of shame that, we all went through of, I wish I was in this position, but you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what did you do to help yourself get through that shame?
Well, one is the process of supporting each other, but
Yes.
2 was seeing that this is part of my mastery. Everyone was becoming my teacher for me to become more of a master. So I'm in gratitude that I owe them money. I mean, I'm grateful that I got Lyme disease because I am so much stronger and have so much more compassion for people
Yes.
that are really weak, that you take a shower and you feel like you have to take a nap after taking the shower because it's so hard just to stand up in the shower. I know what that's like now, which I didn't before. So for me, it was a great learning experience. I mean, I couldn't pay for what we went through and how it accrued to me a level of mastery, self-confidence, so yeah.
That was great. Those little golden nuggets that you're sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to read this other question. I wouldn't have thought about this, so this is another good one. Did both of your emotional reactions impact your relationship?
Actually, we got closer.
Yeah, we did.
So how did you get closer?
Well, we realized that if we were going through it alone, it would have just, that's the first thing. Or we appreciated that, wow, we don't have to go through it alone because we can be together in our strategy. And if we got stuck and lost in something and we didn't know what to do about it, we figured it out together.
Yeah.
And if one of us was kind of clueless, then the other one never failed, always got it. So, and through that process, we developed all these amazing skills. I mean, that's what we work with our clients now on, because we've figured out, we've discovered all of these things. And I'm a research geek. I love researching. So I like to know what's going on in the brain neurologically, cognitively, that our reactions cause this response. And so we've used a lot of that to really help guide us. And so I would say that, wow, we were close before, and it's amazing, but we keep refalling in love every single day.
I love it. Oh.
Despite, well, what the heck we've been through, which is like Rome falling down around us and the rugs being taken out and our whole foundation was gone.
Do you think that is, of course you know that you support one another, but do you see like new, how should I say this, like a new facet of each other when you're going through this, so it makes you appreciate each other more?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is.
Well, let me add one piece about what happened for me when I was going through things, which will answer that question too. I think that for men, having your livelihood together, your money flow is so much a part of your identity as a man.
Oh, yeah.
So it's challenging for men, I think, when
Oh,
you're not making the kind of money you used to make, So for me, that was powerful that I could share with Carol, hey, I feel like a failure here, you know, and I would just show my weakness with her, okay?
Yeah.
And
Bless
to
you
be able to
for
show
doing
your
that.
weakness with somebody and have them not judge you, but just to hold space for you is really powerful.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's a place where you got to see that of me, but also I got to be supported.
Yeah.
And then sometimes,
Safe, feeling safe.
yeah. And then I would coach Carol, like if she was like, it was a little bit of too much mothering, I'd go, no.
Well,
Don't
yeah,
mother
I
me.
want to talk
which
about
is
that
easy
piece.
to do.
Yeah.
I'm
'Cause
guilty
she's a
of
mother
it
with
too.
two sons.
Yeah.
So but communication is really important.
Very.
So to ask for
Yeah.
what you need. So you don't have to, you can really have the relationship support the growth of each other.
And having the healthy boundaries.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I have to say, along with what Paul just said, is when I could see that he was really struggling and feeling horrible. I mean, there was days he would come home beat up. I mean, emotionally beat up,
Yeah,
and he would
yeah.
just his energy. You could see it now. He's a pretty vibrant being, but he'd walk in the door, and it was like. And I would feel him, and my heart would go out to him. I'm like, I don't want to see him suffering
Yeah,
like this.
I know.
So my tendency would be, what can
Try
I
to
do to fix you?
Yeah, we gotta stop doing that.
Can I make you better? What do you need? What can I do? And he would say, just let me be where I'm at right now. And at first, it was so uncomfortable for me because I felt like it wasn't about being needed by him. Maybe a little bit, but I think for me it was, well, what do I do? And so really finding that place in myself just to be quiet and being comfortable with just being where it's at, where he's at. I cannot make him go any faster through it.
No.
So what can I do? And I think me just paying attention to what was coming up inside of me, not making him wrong, not trying to speed him through the process, deepened me in many, many different layers. And I really feel that by me stepping in and doing that, and by him claiming what he needed more, we got closer. And of course, it would be flipped too, where I'd just be,
Right.
what am I doing? And then he would show up for me. So I think
Yeah.
that whole process really, we figured
It's
out
a
how
beautiful
to be there.
dance.
It is. It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that because I'm waiting.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But that is truly a wonderful key and nugget to share, definitely. So, are there any suggestions of being happy when you're in the midst of a crisis?
Well, I would say first have some type of practice that you adopt. And it could be going to the gym, it could be quiet meditating, but I think if you could develop a practice so that you could come back to that stillness so you can connect, because there is something bigger than us here. Whatever you want to call it, even if you're an atheist, there's something bigger than you as a human being. Connect with that energy. So I go into nature. So I think that's the first thing, is find a practice that you love that feeds you. But then the other thing I think is find a place of gratitude in what's going on. Even in the worst situation, there's something you can be grateful for. You know, whether it's just the beauty of your surroundings, you know?
I think being grateful is actually the most important thing that we do. in first thing, you know, that's what I do in the morning. I'm just grateful.
Right.
You know, even
Right.
with the challenges, because I know that ultimately
Right.
it's for my highest good.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
good.
And I think, you know, I know with a brief overview on what we do when we work with clients is we kind of give them a 3-step process to look at, have the awareness, that's number 1. Are you being a victim?
Yeah.
And number 2 would be, okay, if you are a victim, you have a choice. Do you want to stay there, or do you want to shift into another possibility? And then the third piece is, okay, well, what kind of questions can you ask yourself to open up to something different? And that's just a really quick overview, but what happens is the emotional regulation that people have in themselves is so important. And I think learning how to receive whatever it is.
When you say emotional regulation, what do you mean?
What do I mean? That's my clinician piece coming out.
That's okay. I just,
it's
clarity,
Good.
teaching.
Thank you for asking me that question. It's to finding, if you're under stress, it's proven that you lose quite a significant amount of brain cells in your intelligence when stress gets in the way. So if you really are in a situation where you have to figure out a different outcome for yourself, you need all your brain cells.
Absolutely.
So the only way to do that is to find a way to remove stress from your body. So that, and we have a technique we use of the three brains, the mind and the heart and the gut brain, and we teach people to connect those languages together. And that will help you receive more in a different way without the emotional stuff getting in your way. So,
That's good.
is that
That's
clear?
great. Oh, yes. Yes,
Good.
yes, yes.
Good answer.
No, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
for the viewers and
Yeah,
definitely. That's great.
yeah.
So do you both have compatible viewpoints when it comes to wealth and money?
Yeah, we
For
do.
the most part, yeah.
I think that you, money is security for you, and it's pleasure.
Yes.
You get pleasure out of sharing money, giving. You're incredibly generous. And that the one place where I'm a little different is that money is security for me, but it also is freedom. So I'm a saver. We have savings now, and to me, the more I create of money, the more I have freedom to be able to serve others or take a break from the business of life. So that's one place where we're a little different, but we're pretty darn
Yeah, we're
close.
pretty compatible. Yeah.
So would you change anything there?
No. No, I like that she's different than me.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise it might get boring. Not really, but
I think one thing that I just want to add about the money piece and the compatibility is when we were finding that we had to really be more mindful about where we were spending money when things changed. I just realized that, money is just, it's a currency of life, and it's how do we relate to money? How do we relate to money? You have a relationship with money, just like you do with people.
Right.
That relationship is pivotal, and it's how you receive it in you. And it's okay to claim, hey, I miss you, money, and I'm ready to have more of you in my life.
Yes, to ask the universe
That's
for more.
right.
Yes, thank you.
That's right.
Yes, I'm grateful in advance.
Right. Because money's energy. It is
Yeah,
energy.
Totally.
It's complete energy.
Just absolutely. So, and it is necessary in our society.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
it is.
know,
It is.
I mean,
Yeah.
It
There's
is.
no getting around it. So
That's right.
Even though many centuries ago it wasn't
Right.
around, but
Right.
and it's been abused. Very.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
I mean, that's what my
Yeah.
show talks about. But
Yeah.
I am
That's
just so
right.
happy that you two came on the show because I think this is so valuable. Because I do know that one of the highest reasons for divorce is usually
Yes.
finance, and it goes deeper than that, of course. But
Yes.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
they say money is the root of all evil, but it's really not. It's the people how they have that relationship with it.
That's right.
So
Yes,
right.
exactly.
and if the people
Right.
aren't evolved enough or aren't willing to grow enough in that process like you have, that's why
Yeah.
I wanted you on the show, because I think you're a wonderful example
Thank you.
of the true love, for one, and getting through these challenges.
Yeah. And there's a power, I think. Money is not power. It's not power, and I think that's where it's been misused in our
definitely.
culture.
Yeah.
That's the true power. The true power is your heart. It's
Absolutely.
vulnerability, it's relating, it's
Absolutely.
receiving, it's connecting.
Absolutely.
And when you can do that,
Is there, or are there any wonderful little last things that you would like to share with our viewers?
Well, one thing is we'd love to share our book with your viewers. So I think that your production team will put on, there's a number they can text.
Yes, yes.
And then we'll send everyone who wants a copy of our book, an ebook. So as a
Great.
way to say thank you to your audience for listening. And
thank you
That's
so
one thing,
much
yeah.
for having us on the show.
Oh, no.
Pleasure.
I've been looking forward to this since I met you last week. And thanks to David for introducing
Yes,
us.
right?
yeah.
Because I think that this is so valuable.
Yeah.
So valuable.
You know, I guess the one thing I want to say is that, you know, if you're in a tough situation, I'm talking to the viewers or whoever who might be,
Right.
be easy on yourself. You know, I think a lot of times we get hard on ourselves that we think, why did we get here? Why did I do this?
Yeah.
That's not going to help.
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
maybe there's some insights you can get,
Yeah.
but be easy and gentle on yourself. And there always is a way through it.
Always.
And it's not going to last forever.
It's
not.
the temporary.
Right.
It might last longer
Temporary.
than you'd like,
Yes.
but it won't last forever.
It's temporary
Temporary.
It might be a long temporary, but
because there's enough. There's really enough.
Oh, there's more than enough.
There's more than
There's,
enough.
you know,
That's right.
I've shared this many times, but
That's
the
right.
last calculations I did, and because I'm a numbers person, is that there's enough money circulating on the planet for every 10 billion of us, the babies in Africa and India,
Yes.
to have $8 to $10 million apiece.
oh
And
my
that's
goodness.
yeah, and that's
Wow.
how it's so out of proportion.
Yes, it
where
is.
the 2 to 3% have all the lion's share
Yeah.
of
Wow.
it, you know. And
Wow.
I wish that they would all get that, so they would, you know, help distribute the wealth.
Yes.
You know, and I know there are people that do that are wealthy,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah, there
lot
are.
that are in that fear mode, and I've met several of them that are in that fear mode.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, well, that's why we're saying that's not real thriving.
No,
That's
it's
why
not.
we need to change our definition of what thriving
It's
is.
stingy surviving.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and it's mostly in here, in their heart.
Yeah.
But I'm just, you know, thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
You
Thank you
know,
for
and
having
please,
us.
if there's anything else that you'd like to share.
I don't know.
No.
Well,
You're good? Are
Do
you?
you have anything you want to share?
I'm thinking we've covered so many
Okay,
things.
good. Well, I just want to make sure because,
Yeah.
you know, this is an opportunity. But thank you so much
Thank
for being
you.
here and sharing. And I
Thank
know
you.
this is going to help
Right.
a multitude of
you.
people.
Good.
And writing this book was such a journey for us, really. And writing it together and collaborating was beautiful.
Oh yeah, the
was
dance.
really- It
the
was.
dance.
It was.
Yeah, that's also something I think that we have that I'm very appreciative in our relationship is that we have 3 businesses, and one of them is to mystify love. So it's helping people shift their relationship with love and also money.
Yes.
But that there's a focus we have to give, so it's not just about us, not just about our retirement and our life, our little nest egg. That's not what really motivates us.
Yeah.
So we have a motivation to try to find a way to help others.
And
And that's powerful, I think, if a
Yes.
couple can do that.
oh
Some way that they're doing something which is more than just them,
yes,
it's to give back in some way.
amen.
Whatever way they
Amen.
want to.
Yes.
It's distributing love. That's what it is,
Yeah,
a
and
relationship.
I bet you didn't have this wonderful wisdom before you went through what you've gone through, or maybe
Well, we
it
had a
was
little
just,
bit.
Well, I'm saying,
We got a little bit more now.
This much. Maybe we have this much now. I don't know.
yeah.
We're still beginners.
Hey, we're all, you know, we're all learning, we're all evolving. But
That's
thank you
right.
so much for sharing.
Thank you.
And coming
You're
on the
welcome.
show.
You're
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, audience.
I'll leave you with this. Self-discipline is a form of freedom. Freedom from laziness and lethargy. Freedom from the expectations and demands of others. Freedom from weakness, fear, and doubt. H.A. Dorfman. He was an American mental skills coach. Remember the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. And always do your best. Wealth is the ability to fully experience life by Henry David Thoreau. Thank you, Marin TV, for facilitating our show, and especially to my crew, Eric, Brad, Ginger, and Jack. Thank you. Please support and become a member of Marin TV. Bye for now until the next time. Thank you, all you podcast listeners. This is Dr. Cheryl with Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. Thanks again for tuning in. If you want to contact us, it's drcheryl@podbean.com. And if you want to see our video production, you can go to my YouTube channel, Dr. Cheryl. We have 150 plus shows to share with you, lots of content and fun. Thanks again. Bye-bye.